What's up, Western Oregon? Trevor Denton, very glad to be joined once again by UFC fighter Adam Fugitt. This is a fascinating time to talk to you right now, man. I mean, exactly a year ago, you lose that fight to Mike Malott in Vancouver. Well, guess what? Totally clean slate now. You just won another fight on UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas on June 15th. So, first of all, I mean, how are you feeling sitting here right now compared to a year ago about your career and everything going on right now with you?
It's a 180, much better. Feeling, I'm coming off of cloud nine from the 15th, but definitely just happy to get that win. Happy to see the new contract on the horizon and a potential fight in the fall. That's when they're telling me I'm going to have one. So definitely feeling much better than last year at this time, where everything was doom and gloom.
Yeah, so you've now had almost 2 weeks since this fight. So do you have a sense now, like, how important was that victory for you and your standing in the UFC and your overall professional career right now?
I mean, it was everything. Everything was on the line. Every interview I did, everybody I talked to, I was trying to sell that story, which I thought was a pretty easy story to sell, something that anybody can kind of resonate with. And it was two guys enter with kind of the same lackluster record, and both fighting for their chance to stay with the organization and continue their professional dreams. So I'm just happy that I was able to come out on top of that one to seal the deal, and I get to move forward and continue to be a professional athlete, and I'm just living in the moment right now.
So that's interesting to me. It's a do or die situation. Is that something that you just kind of inherently know from watching the sport, or does somebody actually call you and tell you, like, dude, you need to win this fight or you're out?
Nobody's actually saying that, but you get that feeling. It's not a good look when you're 1-2 on your first contract. The sport is always looking for those next stars, and you are essentially taking up a spot, that they could be, trying to find that next star with. So you want to get in there and you want to prove your worth, and you want to make yourself, valuable to the company. And I really feel like I did that. I did my best to sell the fight. I thought I put on a really entertaining fight, almost to a fault, where some people were, on the social medias, or they didn't understand the strategy behind the fight. And, sometimes the casual fan doesn't understand how things are playing out or what my intent is. But I can assure you that I went in there and I did all the things that I trained for over the long camp that we had. And, I'm super proud and happy with my performance.
So let's go into the strategy of the fight, because I know a big part of this was changing camps and training outside of the state of Oregon for the first time, right, in your career. So what went into that decision to leave the nest, so to speak, head to Arizona and work out in a whole new ecosystem, a new biome? What were you trying to do there? Why did you do that?
I mean, it all goes back to the loss last year, doom and gloom. Just really questioning my abilities. Do I got it? Am I on this level? Just self-doubt, a lot of it, and then looking at my circumstances and what I was doing here. And we always, had this kind of mentality of us against the world, 5-4-1 strong, or whatever you want to call it, art of war, we're trying to take on everybody. And started really kind of see that as maybe something that was holding me back. I haven't been out of the state. I haven't really trained anywhere else. I've gone up to Portland and worked up there a few times, but I just didn't feel like that was the same commitment as, really taking myself out of that comfort zone, putting myself in a new environment where I'm no longer the big fish, in the small room, but now I'm that small fish in a big room. And against, a high-level competition, UFC fighters, world-class coaches, and just going down there. And the first couple of weeks weren't pretty. Got my butt kicked. I actually got dropped one of the first weeks, and had to really ask myself, is that, competitor, everybody talks about the inner dog, is that guy still there? And, just kind of pull myself up by my bootstraps and really get to work.
And that's not always comfortable. I mean, to leave behind a gym, how tough of a decision is that to make? A place where you're a coach, where you're entrenched, where everybody knows your name. How difficult is that?
I mean, it's difficult to think about potentially disappointing the team and the family that I had that's helped me get to this spot. You know, that's the last message I ever wanted to send them was to, you know, them to think they're not enough, that they couldn't do anything more for me. But this is my journey. This is more about me. You know, I love them all the same, and you know, for as far as I go in this sport, they will always have my support. They will always know that they are, you know, a part of my journey, even if I'm doing my camp somewhere else. So it was so hard to kind of, you know, those were the fears, right? And then of course leaving my my comfort zone, that is being able to see my family whenever I want, Sunday dinners, you know, with them every weekend. I got 2 nephews and a niece, and you know, I want to be that role model for them, but you know, I have to go do this thing. Otherwise, you know, they might have the same fears of leaving home that I was struggling with, you know. So yeah, getting in the truck was hard. Not turning around, you know, halfway down the I-5 was hard. But once I got there, we settled in. The heat was difficult, but you know, we got accustomed to it, got acclimated, and yeah, it was a great experience. It was definitely a growing experience.
I remember doing a story on you this time last year, similar, leading up to your fight in Vancouver. And we talked about how you had to make a very difficult decision to leave your job in lumber, very good career in lumber. What kind of risks were involved with this decision for you?
I mean, I had everything was on the line. I had planned on fighting again before this last one, and ended up not being able to do that because of an injury, and kind of getting dropped to the back of the line because of it. You know, you miss that opportunity. You don't think it's going to really affect you, and then there's just so many fighters in the UFC, you know, but so you kind of get left out. And so I intended to fight again. That didn't happen. And in the doom and gloom, you know, I wasn't, how do I say this? I intended to have a fight, so I was mainly just focused on my training. I wasn't really focusing on bringing in money through personal training and teaching classes. I was just worried about, if I get back in there, I want to show a much better outcome than the prior one. So I really put all my eggs in that basket, and I was down to, you know, the last of my savings basically before I got this last fight. So making that move down there, that was it. I had a fixed income basically going down there, knowing that if I didn't get this win, then we were going to be probably looking at hanging up and going back to work somewhere, you know. So that's where we were at, you know. And I'm sure you'll give me some time later to thank them, but I had 3 sponsors that assisted me in making that move happen, and I can't thank them enough. They definitely helped me continue this dream.
So really no plan B in terms of fighting?
No, I'm stubborn and hard-headed that way. You know, it was all plan A. There was no looking back. We would figure a plan B if it all fell through.
If it all fell through. It didn't. A great fight against Josh Quinlan, another kind of contender in the welterweight division right now. When you look back on that fight, how do you feel about it now, 2 weeks later? How do you feel about your performance out there in Vegas?
Well, I feel great about my performance. My legs are still feeling the effects of it, you know. I just think that if the Adam Fugitt that fought last year at this time would have fought Josh Quinlan, it would have been, you know, I don't think I would have got it done. You know, I had to grow a lot. I had to overcome a lot of kind of mental hurdles. After that last one, I got the UFC does a great job of kind of supplying you with physical therapists, dietitians, sports psychology. So that was something I got involved with was sports psychology, and I worked with that guy for a year. And I think everything happens for a reason. That was a big part of it. It's just getting over those mental hurdles that you have to overcome when you're going into such a environment, you know, and all the things that lead up to that. They asked me, you know, about the last fight a lot of times, and I said it was all great until they closed the door, you know, And then they're like, well, what kind of things happen? And my mind starts racing. You start thinking about things, trying to you're almost like scheming in there. And as an athlete that has been doing this a long time, you know when you're thinking about things in there, you're losing that window. And by the time you've decided to make that, do that move or throw that combination, that window's closed. So
right.
Overthinking was a huge one, and not being in the present. So being able to work with a sports psychologist for the last year really helped me in the mental aspect of it. And I don't think I would have been the same fighter this time if I hadn't had that.
So when the cage door closed this time, what was different compared to the last performance?
Oh man, it was very much just a present moment, just being in there, knowing that all the work that had been put in was done. Everything that I was going to do was going to be off of instinct, off of, feel of what we had practiced. I'm literally sitting there listening to Dominic Cruz and Michael Bisping talk about the fight. I could hear that. I could hear people outside the cage as well. I mean, it is the Apex. It's a quieter environment, but, to be able to hear my dad hollering at me and stuff, I didn't get tunnel vision. I didn't get that.
It's a hyper awareness of your surroundings.
A very kind of flow state. It's an odd feeling, but very just freeing, and I felt great.
It's crazy to imagine being in a flow state and being in that sense of awareness with all the stakes that were involved. So you kind of had to put those to the side for a second, right, and focus on the task at hand. Now the task at hand is to continue building your UFC career. You're 2-2 now. There's proof in the pudding now of this guy can win fights against welterweight contenders. So what do you get a sense from talking to your management, talking to the UFC? What's your sense of kind of what your standing is now with the company? Very tenuous this time last year.
Right.
What's the sense you get now from them?
I definitely feel like I've proven myself, that I've been given every indication that the next contract's to come. So I'm going from first contract to second contract. I get that title, a little bit of a UFC vet, I guess you can say. I still feel like, I may be viewed as a gatekeeper. So the only way to overcome that is to continue getting W's. But I think that they see value in me as somebody that, I just been through the thick of it. I was on my last dollar, and, I put everything into a camp, and I came out the other end. And so I think they see somebody that's a, tried and tested competitor.
Back to Arizona for this next camp, you think?
Back to Arizona. I'm looking to get back down there and to continue to build and hone the craft that we've been working in these last 12 weeks.
And who were some of those people that enabled you to happen when you were on your last dollar, that helped you make that camp in Arizona happen?
Oh, 3 local businesses. Actually, one's out of Portland. We'll talk about him first. Raymond Hill, he's actually one of my first MMA teammates, probably still the hardest right hand I've ever been hit by. We used to joke with each other. We were in the same weight class and call each other the Bash Brothers. We fought on a couple cards together, and he was a great teammate, and he's got himself a business up in Portland, Skynet Security, and a family now, and with a little boy named Junius. So shout out to Raymond Hill. I love you, brother. And then I got Alpha Towing, a guy that went to Willamette High School. He was a year or two ahead of me, before I got there, but he's been a guy that's been around my neighborhoods for forever. And
fellow Wolverine there.
Fellow Wolverine, Clayton Trzynski, and somebody that knows how to motivate me. When I reached out to him, he had me come in and we had a conversation, and he just looked at me and told me to go burn the boats and to get it done. I can't thank him enough. And then Back to Strength Chiropractic, Nick Brown. I've met him through, his family's a jiu-jitsu family now. I believe he was a D1 athlete or a college athlete, and he found his way into jiu-jitsu out there at Tempe, Springfield, and now his whole family competes, and he's a heck of a friend, and he had heard that I was looking to make that move, and he reached out and said, hey, whatever I can do to help, and I support you 110%.
That's amazing. So you burned the boats. It worked out. Big win against Josh Quinlan. We're so excited to see what happens next for you, Adam. This UFC career has been just incredible to follow, the ups, the downs, but seems like now we're moving into the next phase, which is continuing to be a veteran in this company. So always appreciate your time. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and congrats on the latest victory.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.